We spend 1/3 of our lives in a world that we are taught to ignore. For years, I treated my dreams like junk mail, tossing them aside without a glance. Then one night, I received a letter that I could not ignore, a message from a part of myself I never knew existed, and it saved my life. If you've ever woken from a dream with a feeling you couldn't shake, it's because a part of you is trying to get your attention. Subscribe, and let's learn how to listen to the messages being sent to you every single night. Part 1. 3 in the morning. They call this the witching hour, the time when the veil between worlds is at its thinnest. I used to think that was just folklore, a relic of a superstitious past. Now, I understand it differently. It's not that the world changes at this hour. It's that we change. The noise of the day has finally died down. The relentless demands of our jobs, our families, our digital lives, they're all asleep. The tyrannical, logical, problem-solving part of our mind, the part we call our ego, is finally tired. And in this profound quiet, both inner and outer, we can finally feel the resonance of the other world we just left, the world of our dreams. Most of us treat this world with a strange kind of dismissiveness. We spend, on average, 6 full years of our lives dreaming. 6 years immersed in a reality where we can fly, where we converse with the dead, where we confront our deepest fears and live out our most ecstatic fantasies. We wake up from these experiences, our hearts pounding, our bodies drenched in sweat, or our faces stained with real tears from a joy that felt more real than anything in our waking lives. And what do? We shake our heads, we mumble, "Wow, what a weird dream," and we stumble to the coffee maker, eager to wash away the residue of this profound inner journey and rejoin the real world. Why do we do this? Why do we treat 1/3 of our existence like a meaningless hallucination? It's because we've been taught to. Our modern, rational, materialist culture has relegated the dream world to the nursery, to the realm of fantasy and nonsense. We've been given 2 primary explanations for our dreams, both of which serve to strip them of their power. The first is the purely neurobiological explanation, that dreams are simply the brain's random neural firings, the cerebral cortex trying to make sense of chaotic signals from the brainstem during REM sleep. In this view, dreams are nothing more than biological static, a kind of mental housekeeping, as meaningful as the patterns on a television screen when the broadcast has ended. The second, slightly more sophisticated view, is the early Freudian one, that dreams are primarily a form of wish fulfillment, a coded expression of our repressed, often infantile, sexual desires. While this was a step forward in acknowledging that dreams have meaning, it's a deeply limited and often cynical lens. It reduces the sublime, terrifying, and numinous experiences we have every night to a predictable and rather sordid script. Both of these views, the biological and the Freudian, ultimately serve the same purpose. They allow us to dismiss the dream. They give us permission to ignore the nightly messages from the deepest, wisest part of ourselves. For years, I accepted this dismissal. I treated my own rich, intricate dream life as a nightly movie I had no control over and that had no relevance to my waking life. I was living in a house with 1,000 rooms, but I had been convinced that only one of them, the brightly lit living room of my waking consciousness, was worth paying attention to, while the rest were locked and empty. Part 2. My perspective began to change because of a single, recurring dream that started about 10 years ago, during a particularly difficult and confusing period of my life. On the surface, everything was fine. I had a good job, a stable relationship, all the external markers of success. But internally, I felt a growing sense of emptiness, a profound feeling of being on the wrong path. I was living a life that looked good on paper, but it didn't feel like my own. I ignored the feeling, pushed it down, and kept going through the motions. And then, the dream started. It was always the same. I was in the house I grew up in as a child. But the house was different. It was dark, and many of the rooms were locked or blocked by furniture. I would be frantically searching for something, though I didn't know what. A terrible sense of anxiety and dread permeated the entire dream. The most significant feature was the basement. In my waking life, the basement of my childhood home was just a normal, slightly musty place where we stored old Christmas decorations. But in the dream, the door to the basement was locked with a large, rusty padlock, and I had a terrifying, unshakable feeling that something monstrous was living down there. I would always wake up from the dream in a cold sweat, my heart racing, with that feeling of dread clinging to me for hours. For months, I dismissed it. It's just a stress dream, I told myself. My logical mind explained it away. The locked rooms represented opportunities one felt were closed to me. The monster in the basement was my anxiety about my career. These were plausible, surface-level interpretations that allowed me to keep ignoring the dream's true, urgent message. But the dream was persistent. It came back, night after night, week after week. It was not shouting, but it was refusing to be ignored. The feeling of it was becoming more real, more significant, than the feelings I was having in my waking life. The turning point came one night when the dream shifted. This time, as I stood before the padlocked basement door, trembling with fear, a new character appeared. It was an old man with kind, intelligent eyes, someone I'd never seen before. He didn't speak, but he looked at me, then at the lock, and then he handed me a single, ornate, old-fashioned key. The message was clear. I was supposed to open the door. The fear was immense, but the presence of this wise, calm figure gave me a sliver of courage. I took the key, my hand shaking, and I unlocked the door. I woke up at that exact moment, not with the usual terror, but with a new feeling, a sense of profound, world-altering significance. I knew, with a certainty that bypassed all logic, that this dream was not just a dream. It was an instruction. It was a diagnosis. It was a map. And I knew that if I didn't find the courage to metaphorically open that basement door in my waking life, the monster down there would eventually tear the entire house down. That dream was the letter I could not ignore. It was the beginning of my true education. Part 3. My quest to understand that dream led me away from the dismissive theories I had been taught and towards the work of the great Swiss psychiatrist, Carl Jung. Jung, who was once Freud's chosen successor, broke with his mentor precisely because of this issue. He believed that Freud's view of the dream as a mere container for repressed wishes was tragically incomplete. Jung saw the dream not as a place to hide things, but as a stage upon which the psyche, in its infinite wisdom, seeks wholeness and healing. Jung proposed a radical and beautiful idea, that the psyche has a natural, self-regulating function, much like the body. When our bodies are out of balance, they produce symptoms, a fever, a cough, to signal that something is wrong and to initiate a healing process. Jung believed the psyche does the same thing. When our conscious attitude, our ego, becomes too one-sided, too rigid, or too disconnected from our true nature, the unconscious mind produces dreams to compensate, to correct the imbalance. The dream is the psyche's attempt to communicate with the ego, to show it what it's missing, to point it towards the path of integration and wholeness. In this view, a nightmare is not an attack, it is a desperate, urgent message from a part of ourselves that we have ignored for too long. This framework re-enchanted the dream world for me. It transformed it from a junkyard of random neural firings into a sacred, intelligent space. I began to understand my dream in a new light. The house, Jung would say, is a classic symbol for the self, the psyche. The locked rooms were not just missed opportunities, they were parts of my own potential, parts of my personality that I had locked away in order to conform to the life I was supposed to be living. The frantic, anxious searching was the searching of my own soul for its lost parts. And the basement. The basement, in dream symbolism, often represents the personal unconscious. The parts of ourselves that we have repressed and rejected because they are scary, primitive, or socially unacceptable. This is what Jung famously called the shadow. The monster in my basement was not just my career anxiety. It was my own disowned power, my creativity, my anger, my authentic desires, all the parts of myself I had locked away because they didn't fit into the neat, tidy, successful life I was trying to build. My conscious ego was terrified of these parts. But the dream wasn't telling me to slay the monster. The wise old man, a classic Jungian archetype of the self, the regulating center of the psyche, was handing me the key. The dream was telling me the only way to heal the house was to unlock the door, to go down into the darkness, and to confront and integrate the powerful, terrifying, and vital energy I had hidden there. As Carl Jung wrote, One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. My dream was a direct invitation to do just that. Continued in next response due to length, excellent. Let's continue the journey into the dream world. Here are the next two parts, where we delve deeper into the language of dreams and the practical steps of working with them. Part 4. Accepting this new, respectful framework for dreams was the first step. The next, far more challenging step, was learning the language. The unconscious does not speak in the clear, linear, logical language of our waking ego. If it did, we wouldn't need dreams, we could just have a straightforward conversation with ourselves. Instead, the unconscious speaks in the native language of the soul, the language of symbols, of metaphor, of myth, and of feeling. It is a language that is poetic, multi-layered, and deeply personal, yet it also draws from a universal well of archetypal imagery. Learning to understand your dreams is like learning a new language. It requires patience, humility, and a willingness to let go of your need for simple, black-and-white answers. The first and most essential tool in this process is the dream journal. This is non-negotiable. The moment we wake up, the rational mind begins its work of tidying up reality, and the delicate, dew-like substance of the dream evaporates almost instantly. You must capture it immediately. I keep this journal by my bed every single night. The moment I wake from a dream, before I even sit up, I grab my pen and write down everything I can remember. I don't edit. I don't analyze. I just capture the raw data. I write down the plot, the characters, the setting. But more importantly, I try to capture the feeling tone of the dream. Was the dominant emotion fear? Joy? Confusion? Awe? The emotion is often the most direct clue to the dream's significance. I write down specific, strange details, no matter how nonsensical they seem. Did I see a blue-colored cat? Was there a clock with no hands? These strange, illogical details are often where the real energy of the dream is hidden, precisely because they haven't been cooked up by our logical mind. I also make a note of the title, the first phrase or name that pops into my head to describe the dream. The house with the locked basement. The blue cat. This acts as a powerful mnemonic hook. The next step, perhaps later in the day when you have some quiet time, is to engage with the dream, not to analyze it, but to amplify it. This is another key Jungian concept. You don't interpret a dream like a code to be cracked. You walk around it, you talk to it, you let it get bigger. You take the main symbols from the dream, the house, the key, the monster, and you make associations. What does a house mean to me, personally? What are my own memories and feelings about my childhood home? Then you can look at the archetypal associations. What does house mean in myths and fairy tales around the world? A quick search can tell you that it's a universal symbol for the self. You do this for each element. The key. What does a key do? It unlocks. It grants access. It solves a puzzle. What in my life needs unlocking? The monster. What kind of monster? What is its energy? Is it angry? Sad? Frightened? What does this monster want? Instead of asking, what does this dream mean, you start asking better questions. What part of me is this monster? What locked room in my life is this key for? You are not looking for a single, definitive answer. You are starting a conversation. You are building a bridge between your conscious mind and the vast, wise, and ancient intelligence of your own unconscious. It's a slow, intuitive process, but through this respectful dialogue, the messages of the night begin to reveal their profound and life-altering wisdom. Part 5. As you begin this work, you'll start to notice that not all dreams are created equal. They seem to come through two different gates, a concept the ancient Greeks also spoke of. The first gate, the gate of Horn, sends us dreams that are relatively straightforward. These are the dreams that are clearly connected to the events of our waking lives. We could call them processing dreams. If you had a stressful argument with your boss, you might dream that you are being chased or that you've forgotten to study for an important exam. These dreams are your psyche's way of digesting the emotional residue of the day. They are important for our mental health, helping us to process stress and integrate our experiences. When you work with these dreams, the connections are often quite clear. The monster chasing you clearly embodies the feeling you had during the argument. The unpreparedness for the exam is your feeling of being put on the spot by your boss. Working with these dreams can help you understand your emotional reactions to your daily life with much greater clarity. You can see your own patterns of anxiety or avoidance played out on the nightly stage, which gives you the awareness you need to change them in your waking life. But then there is the second gate, the gate of ivory. Through this gate come the big dreams. The dreams that feel different. They have a luminous, numinous quality to them. They are often intensely vivid, deeply symbolic, and they leave you with a powerful, lasting feeling that you have touched something sacred and important. My dream of the house with the wise old man was a big dream. These dreams are not just processing the events of the day. They seem to well up from a much deeper layer of the psyche, the layer Jung called the collective unconscious. This is the inherited, ancestral foundation of the human mind, a layer we all share, which is populated by archetypes, universal patterns and symbols like the wise old man, the great mother, the shadow, the hero. When you have a big dream, you are receiving a message not just from your personal psyche, but from the deep, transpersonal wisdom of humanity itself. These dreams often come at major turning points in our lives, during a midlife crisis, after a great loss, or when we are on the cusp of a major spiritual or psychological breakthrough. They are guiding us on our life's most important journey, the journey of what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming the unique, whole, and authentic individual we were born to be. Approaching a big dream requires an extra measure of respect and humility. You cannot fully grasp its meaning with your intellect alone. Its message unfolds over time. The dream of my house didn't solve my problems overnight. It gave me a guiding image that I worked with for years. It prompted me to finally leave the safe job that was suffocating my soul, unlocking a room. It encouraged me to take up creative pursuits I had long abandoned, exploring another. And it gave me the courage to go into therapy to confront my own shadow aspects, entering the basement. The dream was not the destination, it was the map that initiated the journey. When you receive a big dream, you should treat it like a sacred text. Write it down in detail. Draw its images. Meditate on its feeling. Share it with a trusted friend or therapist. Let it live with you. Its wisdom will reveal itself not in a single moment of interpretation, but in the way it guides you to live a more conscious, authentic, and whole life. Part 6. Once you have established a strong relationship with your dreams, once you have learned to respect their messages, to speak their symbolic language, a new and extraordinary possibility can emerge. You can learn to wake up inside the dream. This is the phenomenon known as lucid dreaming. A lucid dream is not just a particularly vivid dream. It is a dream in which you are consciously aware of the fact that you are dreaming. The dreamscape is all around you, but a part of your waking consciousness, your self-awareness, has been switched on. This is a profound, game-changing shift in the nature of consciousness. The moment you become lucid in a dream is unforgettable. It's often triggered by noticing something wrong or illogical in the dream. You might look at your hands and see that you have 6 fingers, or you might flip a light switch and the light doesn't turn on. These reality checks can jolt your conscious mind into recognition. This isn't real. I must be dreaming. And in that instant, the entire experience transforms. The feeling is one of supreme, exhilarating freedom. The fear that often accompanies strange dream events dissolves, because you know that nothing can truly harm you. The dream is no longer something that is happening to you. It becomes a vast, interactive, virtual reality environment that you can consciously explore and engage with. The ancient art of lucid dreaming has been practiced for centuries by Tibetan Buddhists in a discipline known as dream yoga, but it has only recently been scientifically verified and studied in the West. Researchers like Dr. Stephen LaBerge at Stanford University have conducted experiments where lucid dreamers, while asleep in a lab and monitored by EEG machines, have been able to signal to the researchers in the waking world by using prearranged eye movements. This proves that it is a genuine, hybrid state of consciousness, a true bridge between the waking and sleeping worlds. But why would one want to do this? The applications are as limitless as the dream world itself. For one, it's a powerful tool for overcoming nightmares. If you are being chased by a monster and you become lucid, you can stop running. You can turn around and face the monster. You can ask it, "What do you want? What part of me do you represent?" You can have a direct dialogue with the figures of your own psyche, transforming a terrifying experience into an opportunity for profound healing and integration. You can also use the lucid state to practice skills. Musicians can practice an instrument, athletes can rehearse their movements, and public speakers can practice a speech, all with perfect realism. Studies have shown that this kind of practice in a lucid dream can translate to improved performance in waking life, as it builds the same neural pathways in the brain. But the most profound application of lucid dreaming is for personal and spiritual exploration. You are no longer just a passive recipient of the dream's message. You can become an active explorer of the vast, unseen world of your own consciousness. Part 7. Becoming a lucid dreamer elevates your dream work to an entirely new level. You transition from being an interpreter of messages to being a co-creator of experience. The dream is no longer just a letter you receive, it becomes a workshop, a laboratory, a playground, and a temple. The possibilities for conscious exploration are staggering. You can choose to engage with the dream's narrative, or you can decide to set your own intention. For instance, you can decide before you go to sleep that, if you become lucid, you will seek out a specific figure for guidance. Many practitioners set the intention to find their own wise old man or wise old woman, that archetypal figure of the self that appeared in my own dream. Once lucid, you can simply call out, "I wish to speak with the wisest part of myself," and see who or what appears. The figures and the dialogues that emerge from these encounters can be astonishingly wise and insightful, providing guidance on your life's path that feels like it comes from a source far beyond your own egoic mind. You can also use the lucid state for deep healing work. You can revisit traumatic memories from your past, not as a helpless victim, but as a conscious, empowered adult. You can offer comfort to your younger self. You can change the outcome of the event within the dream, rewiring the emotional charge associated with the memory. This isn't about denying the past, but about changing your relationship to it, transforming it from a source of pain into a source of wisdom and compassion. On a more philosophical level, you can use the lucid dream state to explore the very nature of reality itself. You can conduct experiments. What happens if I try to walk through this wall? What is on the other side? What happens if I fly up into the sky and keep going? You can ask the dream itself profound questions. Show me something I need to know. Show me the meaning of my life. Show me the nature of reality. The experiences that follow such questions can be deeply mystical and transformative, shattering your limited, waking life conceptions of who you are and what the universe is. You are using the dream as a flight simulator for consciousness, pushing the boundaries of your own awareness in a safe, contained environment. Learning to become lucid does require practice and dedication. Keeping a detailed dream journal is the first and most important step, as it strengthens your connection to the dream world. Performing reality checks during the day, regularly asking yourself, "Am I dreaming?" and checking your environment for strangeness, builds the habit that will eventually carry over into your dreams. There are also specific techniques, like the mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, mild technique, where you set a strong intention to remember you are dreaming as you fall asleep. It is a skill that can be cultivated. And the reward for this effort is access to a state of consciousness that is not only profoundly healing and creatively liberating, but is also one of the most exhilarating and joyful experiences a human being can have. It is the experience of your own infinite, creative freedom. Part 8. Our journey into the messages of the night would be incomplete if we only spoke of dreams filled with images, narratives, and symbols. There is another kind of nightly experience, another kind of message, that comes not through a flurry of activity, but from its polar opposite, the profound, dreamless, silent void of deep sleep. For most of us, this is simply a blank space, a time out of which we have no memory. We consider it to be a state of utter unconsciousness. But many contemplative traditions, particularly those from India, have a different view. They see this state, which they call sushupti, not as an absence of consciousness, but as consciousness resting in its purest, most primordial state, unburdened by thoughts, images, or even a sense of a separate self. While we may not remember this state, we all feel its effects. We wake up from a night of deep, dreamless sleep feeling profoundly refreshed, restored, and at peace. It is as if we have been dipped in the source of our own being. The message from this void is not symbolic, it is existential. It is the message of pure peace. It reminds us that beneath the chaotic, ever-changing drama of our waking lives and our dream lives, there is a foundation of silent, imperturbable stillness. This stillness is our true home. This understanding changes our relationship to sleep itself. It is no longer just a biological necessity for resting the body. It becomes a nightly spiritual practice, a pilgrimage back to the source. You can set an intention as you fall asleep, not just to dream, but to consciously experience this deep peace. You can say to yourself, "Tonight, I release everything. I release my thoughts, my worries, my identity. I am returning to the silent source." This intention can transform the quality of your rest. Furthermore, this deep, dreamless state is the source from which the big dreams emerge. Just as a garden that has been allowed to lie fallow through the winter produces the most vibrant growth in the spring, a mind that has rested deeply in the void gives rise to the most profound and meaningful dreams. The silence of the void is the fertile ground for the symbols of the soul. The great spiritual teacher Ramana Maharshi, when asked about the nature of sleep, said, "The sleep state is not a state of ignorance but the state of pure being." He taught that the I, thought, the sense of a separate self, dissolves in deep sleep, and what remains is pure, undifferentiated awareness. The message of the dreamless void, then, is a direct experience of what the mystics call non-duality. It's a nightly reminder that who you truly are is not your body, not your thoughts, not your story, but the silent, peaceful awareness in which all of those things appear and disappear. We don't need to strive to achieve this state, we are gifted it every single night. The practice is simply to recognize its value, to honor it, and to carry the feeling of that deep, silent peace with us into our waking hours. It is the ultimate message from the unseen world, a message of reassurance that our true nature is, and always has been, whole, complete, and at peace. Part 9. The ultimate goal of this work is not to become a master dream interpreter or a professional lucid dreamer who lives for the night. The goal is not to escape the waking world, but to enrich it. The true art is integration. It is the process of taking the messages, the insights, and the expanded states of awareness from your dream life and weaving them into the fabric of your waking reality. Without this final, crucial step, dream work can become just another form of spiritual escapism. With it, it becomes a powerful engine for living a more conscious, authentic, and courageous life. How do we do this? The first way is by honoring the dream's guidance. If your dreams, like mine, are consistently telling you that the path you are on is draining your life force, you have a responsibility to listen. This doesn't mean you have to quit your job tomorrow. It means you start taking small, practical steps in the direction the dream is pointing. You sign up for that art class you've always been curious about. You start writing that book. You have that difficult, honest conversation with your partner. You use the dream's message not as a final destination, but as a compass that guides your daily choices. You begin to live from your soul, not just in service to your ego's desires for security and approval. The second way is by carrying the feeling of your dreams into your day. If you have a dream filled with a sense of joy and freedom, don't just dismiss it as a fantasy. Try to embody that feeling, even for a few moments, during your day. Ask yourself, what one small thing could I do today that would bring me a taste of that same joyful freedom? If you have a lucid dream where you acted with great courage, bring that memory of courage with you into a challenging situation at work. You are using your dream experiences as emotional and psychological resources, reminding yourself of the vast capacities that exist within you. The practice of lucid dreaming, in particular, is a powerful training ground for waking life. In a lucid dream, you learn to face fear with awareness. You learn to remain calm and centered in the midst of chaos. You learn to consciously choose your response rather than being a slave to your automatic reactions. These are the core skills of emotional intelligence and mindfulness. As you practice them at night, they naturally begin to show up in your waking life. You become less reactive, more centered, and more creatively responsive to life's challenges. You are, in essence, rehearsing for enlightenment. You are practicing the art of being a conscious creator of your reality in the safe container of the dream, so that you can bring that skill into the world. Part 10. We began by talking about the dream world as a forgotten world, a part of our lives we are taught to ignore. But the final, deepest truth is that there is no separation. There are not two worlds, a real one and a dream one. There is one reality, one unified field of consciousness, that is simply expressing itself in different modes, different frequencies. The waking state, with its sharp focus and linear logic, is one mode. The dream state, with its symbolic language and fluid reality, is another. The deep sleep state, with its silent, formless peace, is a third. They are all facets of the same diamond. To engage with your dreams is to engage with your own totality. It is to declare that you are no longer content to live in just one small, brightly lit room of your own magnificent inner house. You are claiming your inheritance. You are choosing to become a citizen of your entire being. This journey will change your life, but not necessarily by making it easier or simpler. It will make it richer, deeper, more mysterious, and infinitely more meaningful. You will begin to see that your life is not a random series of events, but a sacred story that is being written, night and day, by you and for you. The challenges you face in your waking life will be illuminated by the symbols in your dreams. The guidance you receive in your dreams will give you the courage to face your waking challenges. The two become a beautiful call and response, a dance of consciousness between the seen and the unseen. You are a storyteller, and your life is your great story. Every night, the universe, through the infinite intelligence of your own psyche, offers you the next chapter. It offers you feedback, guidance, warnings, and encouragement. It shows you the parts of your story you have forgotten, the characters you have disowned, and the heroic potential you have yet to claim. Will you continue to throw these pages away, unread? Or will you have the courage to open the book and read the magnificent, terrifying, and beautiful story of your own becoming? The messages are being sent. The only question is whether you are willing to listen. Your dreams are not an escape from your life, they are a doorway to a deeper, truer one. If you are ready to walk through that door, don't let the morning light erase the memory. Subscribe. Stay close. The greatest adventure begins when you close your eyes.